Have you ever just stood and looked out at an expansive open ocean, watching the currents move? It's a truly mesmerizing sight. While every single human life moves in a direction that's actually very much akin to navigating that vast open water. In this explainer, we're exploring exactly how that works, because the fascinating thing is, we are all out here on this ocean, but the degree to which we actually steer the ship, well, that varies wildly from person to person. Every life moves in a direction. The question is whether that direction is chosen or simply accepted. There is a stark contrast present right at the very beginning of our journey. You see, a lot of people just wait for life to reveal its possibilities to them. They drift. It's almost like they're flotsam, bobbing on the relentless tides of time, just accepting whatever the waves happen to bring their way. But then there are those who actively create their possibilities. They are the conscious creators. They understand that a deliberate journey requires intent, it requires focus, and honestly, an absolute refusal to simply accept the default, passive existence laid out before them. And that brings us to a really profound, maybe even slightly uncomfortable crossroads. Are you in control of your life, or are circumstances in control of you? I just want to let that question linger in the air for a second. It's kind of the ultimate test of personal responsibility, isn't it? When we honestly ask ourselves this, we're being invited to step out of the shadows and take on the role of the active protagonist in our own reality.
So let's dive into Section 1, the choice of direction, navigating the currents.
You know, drifting often begins incredibly subtly. Society programs us into these rote routines, and before we know it, we're living by default. We're just surrendering to fate and external expectations. We get handed these assigned roles based on what our environment, our peers, and our culture expect of us. But on the flip side, we have conscious creation. This means making active choices. It means prioritizing what we genuinely desire deep down and intentionally directing our own outcomes. It is a monumental shift. You're moving from merely reacting to what happens to actively deciding what will happen. Let's just sit with this quote for a moment. True freedom is the choice to create the desires one believes in. Without a purposefully chosen path, we're essentially surrendering our ultimate freedom to the whims of convenience. We end up trading our immense, boundless potential for a comfortable, assigned mold. Real freedom, it isn't just a lack of physical constraints, it's the mental and spiritual power to actively form the reality we truly believe in. Moving on to Section 2, the power of attention, directing your focus. If we want to become conscious creators, we absolutely have to master the invisible currency that funds our reality, and that currency is our attention. Think of attention as the literal lifeblood of reality. It's the energy that enlivens an objective and actually brings it into existence in your daily experience. Whatever you choose to acknowledge, whether it's incredibly positive or extremely negative, gains the power and the legitimacy to persist in your world. If you feed a thought, a fear, or a goal with your attention, you're giving it the energy to survive. On the other hand, consciously not responding to something denies it that vital lifeblood. But it is remarkably easy to fall into the traps of misplaced attention. A restless mind can generate immense focus on completely random, insignificant things. We get constantly distracted by surface clutter. We absorb desires manufactured by media or companies trying to sell us things we really don't even need. We endlessly dwell on current minor frustrations. And by doing this, we're spending our absolute most valuable resource on a barrage of externally induced stimuli. What you focus upon will always tend to rule what is experienced. If you give energy to the mundane or the annoying, it multiplies. It's just how it works. The most elegant and effective way to remove unwanted elements from your life isn't necessarily to fight them. It's to intentionally starve them of your attention. Realize that by realigning your focus toward a future you actively desire, you immediately start starving the negative influences of their power over you. Which brings us perfectly to Section 3, defending your inner space, managing your environment. As we navigate these currents, we reach a pretty vital realization. Our environment acts upon us just as much as we act upon it. Because of that, actively protecting your internal energy is absolutely crucial. There are incompatible negative frequencies out there. Sometimes it's a specific location, sometimes it's the subtle, draining demands of aggressive manipulators who exhibit almost vampire-like behavior, just siphoning your vitality. If we don't maintain a steadfast, positive internal boundary, these influences can subtly drag us down. They're constantly trying to capture your attention to force their own agenda. We have to be deeply observant and flat out refuse to surrender our focus to them. Control or be controlled are the choices that will make life different. It requires an immense, quiet strength to walk away from an unruly or toxic situation simply to protect your inner tranquility. But if you don't control your environment diligently, you are leaving yourself at the mercy of unpredictable fate and the whims of everybody else.
All right, Section 4, breaking the mold, escaping rote habits.
It is incredibly easy to fall into convenient molds built by the expectations of society, and we often mistakenly assume this imposed image is our true self. But remember this, the repetitive habits of the past explain who you have become, but not your potential for the future. Your past is literally just a record of your rote responses. That illogical need to conform, it can be broken. We can completely shatter these molds by continuously seeking out new, varied experiences. You always have the freedom to remake yourself and the image you portray to the world at large.
Reinventing oneself is a deliberate process. Step 1, question those subconscious rote responses. Did they work in the past? Do they actually serve you right now? Step 2, isolate the new elements, the best practices that you wish to assimilate into your persona. Step 3, continuously create original responses to old stimuli. It's exactly like replacing outdated mental software with carefully chosen, conscious habits that actually align with your highest potential.
Let's look at Section 5, Designing Your Future, the Blueprint of Reality.
So, how do we apply these profound insights to actually build the life we want? Well, here's the blueprint. First, conceive the specific desire. You need clear, highly detailed specifics of what you truly want, completely stripped of all that external clutter we talked about. Second, formulate a concise visual plan. Build a mental map of the processes required. And third, and honestly perhaps most importantly, apply persistent, unwavering effort. Imagination transforms into reality through absolute dedication. Keep in mind, half-hearted efforts are only ever going to yield half-hearted results.
This is such a profound realization. What you are prepared to do in order to achieve what you want is the only cost involved in achieving that goal. Think of it like water flowing through nature. When water meets an obstacle, it doesn't just stop and give up, right? No, it diverts, it adapts, it finds a way around to continue its course, never compromising its ultimate direction. That is the exact kind of flexible, unyielding persistence required to reach our goals.
As we map out this future, we have to deeply evaluate what we are actually building. Here, we contrast chasing the transient versus creating lasting value. Pursuing induced desires, short-term satisfaction, and endless superficial trinkets, it ultimately leaves us completely hollow. True value is found in prioritizing what lasts: deep, supportive relationships, lifelong meaning, and genuine experiences. Time is our most precious commodity, far more irreplaceable than money, and we should deliberately spend it on what truly matters.
Life is the opportunity to create moments of wonder. What a beautifully clarifying perspective. The true purpose of managing our attention, breaking our habits, and shaping our path isn't just about harsh discipline or mere survival. It's to actually experience the beauty, the joy, and the wonder of living an intentional life. It's about ensuring your life is filled with bliss, constructed entirely by your own design.
Ultimately, a different and wonderful reality is waiting for you. All it takes is the will, determination, and effort to pursue your dreams. It's such an encouraging reminder that an expansive, entirely new reality is always accessible. It's not locked away for a select few. It is readily available to absolutely anyone willing to put in the persistent effort to actively claim it as their own. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a single resonant question. What will you choose to create next? The possibilities are quite literally endless, limited only by your imagination and your willingness to step out of the drifting currents and take the wheel. The horizon of your own potential is vast and completely uncharted. It really is your move.